All right, good morning, everybody. I've got 9 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Alex Hoffman. I'm with the Equipment Dealers Association. I'd like to welcome Greg Peterson of Machinery Pete, who'll be our presenter today. We're thrilled to have Greg here to review his latest findings in the used equipment market. Before we get started, I'm going to run through a couple of housekeeping items. This and other webinars are free services of the Equipment Dealers Association for our dealer members. The Equipment Dealers Association serves its members by advocating in Washington, D.C., and by providing industry relations services such as contract reviews. If you haven't done so already this year, we encourage you to renew your dues to help ensure that EDA can continue to provide these valuable services. I know Greg likes interactive webinars, so please feel free to ask questions throughout today's presentation. There's a Q&A box in the top left-hand corner of your screen. As we go through the slides, just push that button, submit a question, and we will answer it out loud for the group. Finally, the slides for the webinar and the recording will be emailed to you after today's presentation in case you'd like to review them later on or share them with others at your dealership. If you do have follow-up questions, feel free to get in touch with us. Thanks again for joining us today, and now I will hand it over to Greg.
Well, thanks, Alex. And I just want to thank everyone for joining this morning, and also just a shout out to EDA and Alex, all the good folks there for the work they do for the industry. For us here to represent, particularly in this interesting time in Washington with all the policy changes being discussed. So thanks again to EDA for their hard work. And yeah, we'll just talk about trends with used values here, what I've been seeing. Now, I'll just start off by saying the slides we're seeing here, this is from our quarterly Machinery Pete Used Values Index. I've been putting this big picture look out now since 2011. And it's based on all the auction price data we compile on, basically every type of equipment, new, old, big, small, shiny, rusty. And it's my attempt to take all the data, crunch it down into a kind of a storyline, up or down what we're seeing with used values. And these slides were done at the end of second quarter. So end of June, first few days of July. And what we'll try and do is give you the latest update what I've seen here through July and August. But this is my overall index, again, lumping everything together. And all these index ratings are on a 1 to 10 scale on the left. And for perspective, the 28 years, almost 28 years I've been compiling this auction data now. In this index form, I consider 6 to be normal or stable. Now, I don't have to tell you guys, there is no normal or stable when it comes to used values. But again, with my almost 3 decades perspective and lens, that's a reference point. So you can see here, end of second quarter, we came out at a 6.6 rating, down just a smidge from first quarter. And really interesting findings here. To me, what we need to do is go back to the first quarter of 13. Of course, maybe the top of the market there, end of 12, 13, and then commodity prices fell, and obviously we saw recalibration with used values, and it was what it was, painful, but we all know used values adjusted, and you can see my graph here through the end of 13, particularly through 14 and 15, fell quite a bit. But I think the key thing that our data began to show was that a year and a half ago, first quarter of 16, we sort of quit falling and we leveled off in that mid-6 range. And you can see a little dip in third quarter last year, but fourth quarter 16, first quarter 17 were both up a teeny bit. And that, I'll be honest, that surprised me. But again, that's always been the brutal honesty of this auction price data. It doesn't matter what we think. You just put these assets up for sale, and they bring what they bring around the country in their given condition. We just report on, up or down. So again, the little drop in second quarter pretty much was solely driven by what I saw in June. And April and May were a continuation of the slightly higher auction pricing we were seeing. And in June, we started to get a little choppy. And to fill you in on what's happened since the end of second quarter, we kind of held even until this last crop report came out, which I forget, it was like August 12th or something. And to be honest, since then, we've begun to see some emerging choppiness in the auction pricing based on geography. So when we're seeing auctions in areas that, maybe they had, double replant, or maybe parts of like northern Iowa that are just burnt toast, or Dakotas, those areas are producing now some softer auction pricing. And again, this is just the last couple of weeks. So it's not across the board by any means. We're getting solid continuing holding reports from the other areas with better crops. So it's something to keep an eye on. But second quarter, just some of the factors that were going into this, where we're at 6.6. Again, to me, the fact that second quarter index rating only fell just a teeny bit is kind of a win, because going back 27 plus years, second and third quarter have historically tended to be the softest times of year, again, for these hard cash auction pricing. Fourth quarter, we know Section 179, farmers trained, year-end buying, and first quarter has always been pretty good. You're planning for the coming season. You need to address your used equipment needs. The middle of the year gets a little soggy and tends to be soft. So the little drop, again, to me was positive. The other thing, again, the other little reason we saw the drop on the very large equipment, the over 200 horse, particularly four-wheel drives, we started to see, again, in June, some softer auction pricing. That maybe helped push the overall rating from a flat to just a down slightly. So that's kind of some of the biggest drivers we saw on the 6.6 rating second quarter, Alex.
This next slide is super interesting to me. This lawn and garden up 96%, that's crazy.
Yeah, and this is really interesting. With our machine repeat business growing like it has the past number of years, since I partnered my business with Farm Journal Media almost 4 years ago. And we want to certainly shout out a huge thank you to our dealer partners for your support with what we're doing. One of the huge benefits now is we have 100 and some thousand pieces of retail dealer equipment listings for sale, and we track what everybody's clicking on. And so the search traffic data I find highly, highly interesting to compare to the hard cash auction price data that I've had for almost 3 decades. So when we see a slide like this, and this represents second quarter, the jump in search traffic in these smaller equipment categories, it tells me a couple things. One, it marries perfectly with what we're seeing with the auction data, which has basically been the smaller stuff has been hotter. And you guys know, I mean, it just is what it is. A little bit of this is who has money. So the hobby farm guys on the edge of, like I live in Rochester, 125,000 people. If you got 40 acres on the edge of Rochester, you got 2 promotions at the Mayo Clinic the last 3 years, and hey, I need a 50 horse tractor. They're going to you guys, they're buying them retail. When we see them at auction, the prices are higher. And some of it's timing. I mean, obviously, second quarter lawn and garden, grass is growing, got to mow. But again, 97% jump, that's pretty good. The hay categories, you can see huge spikes in traffic. ATVs, under 40 horse tractors up. So what I find interesting here from the dealer perspective, and I come from a dealer family. My father was third generation dealer, grandfather, great grandfather. So there's always been a gut levelness to the business. You guys, you just know. I mean, you know the business because you live it. But I find data like this is super interesting because it's actionable. So when you see a spike with lawn and garden or hand forage or ATVs, from a marketing perspective, and what we're trying to do with our machine repeat business, of course, then is build out and give you marketing tools to take this and then be proactive. So if the search traffic is coming from spike in Nebraska on round balers in the month of June, okay, now you know. And if you've got sitting there with, 10 2-year-old round balers you're trying to move a pinch point, again, what we're trying to do is give you new tools here. But this stuff you can see in our dealer center with all the analytics. But again, search traffic, we're excited to overlay these trends with the auction price data in a more visual way. So those are tools we're working on right now, Alex. Hopefully we'll have those available real soon here.
Sounds good. And just to confirm, you're talking about you'll be able to see this search traffic and then compare it to how those categories are selling at auction. That's what you guys are working on. That sounds great.
Right. And then the third leg of that, of course, would be changes within retail pricing, which again we track all that too. So you can talk about volume of listings of a number of whatever 2-year-old round balers or number of 100-horse tractors, changes within the retail pricing, and then again with a quick click you can look at the auction pricing and the search traffic. So we want to make it really handy, drill it down in one quick place, we'll put it all at your guys' fingertips.
Very cool. So let's talk about four-wheel drive tractors.
Yeah, this would be the one category that I've really got my eye on right now, Alex, because again, this chart represents through the end of second quarter, so end of June. You can see a little dip, and again, that was in June. I saw slightly softer auction pricing. Frankly, it's got a little weaker through the summer on the four-wheel drive. So as I begin to look at third quarter reporting here, that 6.5 number, I don't really see any way it's not going to drop. Maybe into the 6.3, 6.2 range here, based on what I've been seeing. And again, since the crop report came out, we're getting a few more auction prices around the country on four-wheel drives that are they're just softer.
What? So here's an example of that.
Yeah, it's again, we can talk mass data from a 1,000-foot level, or we can get granular, and it shows up obviously in the individual items. So end of June, if you look at the date this particular New Holland T9040 sold, it was a very nice tractor, but it was June 27th, Southwest Minnesota. It was on a farm auction, which we know that when we compare the different types of auctions, the farm, consignment, dealer, online, all that stuff, the on-site farm auction has historically tended to be the highest price point. And we're careful when we present this data to you in the raw form. We always tell you what type of auction it's sold at. But when you look at this $119,000 compared to the other T9040s we've seen sold at auction with under $3,000, this is the lowest one I've seen, and it was pretty good stuff on that auction. So again, that was June 27th. And again, this is the beauty of the day-by-day tracking of this stuff is, sometimes it trends up and sometimes it goes the other way. What we want to do is arm you with that, so, we're not guessing about these things, because these are big dollars we're talking about.
And in contrast, it looks like earlier in the second quarter, these four-wheel drive tractors, particularly the older ones, were doing better.
Yeah, definitely. Again, sort of what I saw, and again, I'll just be straight with you, it surprised me, was that from the 1st of November 16 definitely through April of 17, maybe dragging into the first 10 days of May 17, pricing at auction was higher than I thought it was going to be. And we could dive into why that was. I just know that it was. And, the sub-trend here, Alex, would be the age of equipment. So in these two examples, the 97 model red one and the 01 green, we're talking 20 years old and 16 years old. And again, you guys as dealers know that the low-houred, whatever, tractors, combines, if they got a little age on them, they're in this ag environment where the farmers are under pressure and that pencil's got to be super sharp to to make it pencil out. These nice condition older ones have become more attractive. So these two price points, 92.5 on the red 9380 and 85.5 on the 9200, those are strong. And again, that was back in April, like you said, Alex. I've even now started to see on these nice older ones a little slippage on the four-wheel drive. In fact, there was a sale, what's today, Thursday? I think the sale was Tuesday, and it was in Wilmer, Minnesota, close to where I grew up, west central part of the state. Small sale, but really nice stuff. The sale was held by an auction company who promotes the tar out of it. Henslin Auctions, great. They do a great job. There were 2 tractors on that sale I had my eye on. One was I think it was an 03 John Deere 7810 two-wheel drive. Only 732 hours on it, so crazy low. Now that 7810, of course, is like 175 horse, and it's an 03 model. It's like almost 15 years old. It's kind of that's 7810 is like the most clicked on model in machinerypete.com of tractors less than 20 years old. It's right in the sweet spot. That brought 72,000. Good solid price. Same auction Tuesday had a John Deere 9100 four-wheel drive. Only 1,400 original hours on it. It was a bareback. That hurt a little bit, but brought only $50,000. And the auctioneer, Alan Henslin, reached out to me afterwards, and he said, "Geez, Pete, we were kind of disappointed in that 9100. We thought it would go for more money." And what I told Alan was that this is just what I've been seeing since June on four-wheel drive tractors. They're just softer. So again, another confirmation on the dip just on Tuesday.
It looks like you're seeing the same thing with the 200 plus horsepower tractors.
Yeah, a little bit of slippage in June, Alex, just down a little bit. And again, it didn't really concern me at the time. So yeah, it's down, but just down minimally, 6.6 on my 1 to 10 scale. Again, to me, let's arc this back to the start of 15. Again, look at the drop, 13, 14, 15. And then right at the end of 15, early 16, we kind of flattened. That to me was when, the footing I keep talking about. And to me, it's been important to message to the farm audience, which of course we have, I talk to them daily across all our multimedia, TV, radio, print, blogs, YouTube, all this. And I just try to be real with them. I've been real with them for 27 years. That's how we've built our brand and the trust we have with the farm audience. And I once we saw this flattening out, it was actually a November 15 column I wrote for Farm Journal magazine, and I said, I'm uncomfortable doing this. It's not my nature as a Minnesota boy to tell you as a farmer what to do, but I said the opportunity is now to upgrade into late model used. Call your local dealer, because these used values they're not dropping anymore. We're holding, and so call your local dealer. There's supply. It's just a great time to be aggressive as a farmer to upgrade if you can, obviously, if your balance sheet is strong enough. And I've been encouraged the last year and a half, the number of farmers that have come up. And we just talk. I just always talk to them, and they're very open, and it's a deep relationship. And, they're smart. They're shrewd business people. If you're a 65-year-old farmer and you did the 80s, you came out the other side, the score. And it resonated with them. And I had quite a number of them that told me that the message, they got it. And I think a lot of them correlated to land prices. They look back and see, geez, years ago, I should have bought more land, but that's 2020. But I'm interested in taking data, telling you what's real, and then making it actionable, whether you're a dealer or farmer. So to me, the spike we saw in the upward trend in auction prices, end of 16, early 17, was super interesting. So just a little dip again in June. And to update it, Alex, I would say we've slipped a little bit. Third quarter, not as much in this category as with four-wheel drives. Four-wheel drives, it's been a little bit worse there.
Okay. So, and then it looks like we are sort of seeing the same thing in terms of timing within the second quarter. Mm-hmm. Earlier appeared to be better for these as well.
Yeah, and again, this is actionable stuff here, guys. Again, timing. I've been tracking these auction prices for a long time now. And look at the dates here, just like Alex referenced. On the left, April 13th, Farm Auction, Pennsylvania. You can see 13 model, 8345R, those hours, 225. And then again, June 12th, West Central Kansas, same model year, less hours. Look at the number, 187. So again, this is what I was talking about when I said historically for almost 3 decades, our auction data has shown that the middle of the year, second and third quarter, tend to be softest time of year to sell. Whatever kind of auction, farm auction, consignment, dealer, online, whatever. It just is. And to me, it's always kind of made sense. I if you took 20 Midwestern states and just said, okay, let's talk about those. And then you put the 12-month calendar up there. And now you think about how farmers think of things. And you guys, they're your customers, So when do they make their decisions about iron? And I've watched this since 2010. To me, it's become more pronounced with our auction price data that beginning in November, and then November at least through about March 10th, first week of November to March 10th. That to me is a really good window to sell. And when farmers come up and ask me, hey Pete, I don't think we're having a sale in a couple of years. What do you think? I just tell them, if I were having a sale, I would have it in early November. And I think if you look at the dealer auctions we've seen the last couple of years, maybe let's go back to the end of 14. And that 14 was to me was the toughest year. We were dropping the most in used values. That year we saw 20. It was like an 18 to 25% drop across the board. Late model, large ag equipment dropped. Didn't matter what color it was; it just dropped. As we analyzed the auctions through that tough period, still the auctions that were in November, early part of December, they got the best pricing. And the way I look at it is, do you want to be at the front of the line or the end of the line when you're having your sale? You get out ahead of it, basically, is what I see. And so, again, actionable things going forward, to whatever extent you use or don't use the auction route to move excess pieces, whether you send them to an online auction or have your own sale, bring them to a consignment sale, whatever, the timing is important. So right now, again, we're seeing this normal historical dip with softer auction prices. So again, this has become more important, I think, as these dollars, one piece is like a house now. It's $300K. And if you can avoid a 3%, if you can get 3% more for it based on when you sell it, that's a good thing. And the one other thing I'll say, Alex, particularly as it pertains to the auction route, if you sell at auction, what I've been noticing the last year, it's becoming, frankly, more important who sells it. And that auction company, how they promote. And God bless all of our auction friends. I've got 1,100 auctioneers we work with all over North America. I love them all. But how they have leaned into technology or not now is becoming more important. And frankly, we see auctions that, it's insanity, but if you don't have live online bidding and you don't smash it out there on the internet in advance, as an auctioneer, you're just not serving the seller. And unfortunately, we see the prices on those things, and no surprise really, but they tend to be a little bit softer. So on dealer auctions, you have to promote the living bejesus out of them in every single way. Email blasts, which we are ready to help with, and a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You just have to smash, because I'm seeing a growing discrepancy in prices based on who sells it. So just something to chew on.
Yeah, that's great advice for our dealers and things to look for in terms of auction companies. So thank you for that advice. Again, here, May, just a month later in May, softer prices still.
Yeah, again, nice tractors, but again, and Alex, it's what I've always loved about tracking data is we see what we see today, and tomorrow's a new day. And again, you can look at the dates here, May 17th, May 10th, on these nice Magnum 290s. And again, you guys will look at those numbers and say, ouch, that's just not what we would hope for. And then up at the top, you can see, we referenced an 11 model 290 with similar hours, 2035, that brought 115. And again, that was on a wholesale auction, a dealer auction in southeast South Dakota. But look at the date, February 22nd. That's sort of my front of the line, end of the line type thing. And you can see 115 versus 86 on one piece. In these days, that's $29,000 difference, and you maybe have 20 pieces for sale. That math is no fun if you're on the wrong end of it.
Certainly not. And Pete, just out of curiosity, Greg, do you think location has anything to do with these prices, or is it just really that second quarter getting soft?
Well, second and third quarter across all the area we cover historically has been a bit softer. I would start with that. And now I would say, again, just since that crop report came out, and I was really interested in the Farm Journal Midwest Crop Tour, which I think was I can't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but I'm really interested in looking at that map and those yield projections, because again, it was instantaneous. We talked about the day the report came out, and I don't like to share this because it's no fun in terms of negativity, but there was an auctioneer on that day of the crop report, August 12th, that had a sale, and they're a very good auction company. They deliver top line results, but the sale was kind of north central Iowa, a little bit north of Ames. And if you're driving there, you see how just kind of burnt everything is, and it's crazy because you drive north to me in southern Minnesota, not that far, and we're looking good. But this little area, on the day the report came out, here you have this farm auction with good stuff. And this particular auctioneer for 25 years has always sent me, the way they communicate their sale results is they'll send me a sale bill, they'll scan it, and they write the prices in the margins. Okay, so they sent all the prices. At the top was a handwritten note. It said, Pete, today was the 80s. Now, I don't like to hear that. The auction company didn't like to have a soft sale like that. You feel bad for the farmer seller on that day. Nothing they could do about the timing. It was the crop report date. Nothing they could do about the fact that the crops suck in that area. But you swirl it all together. And my way of conveying farmers' response the last couple of weeks since the crop report, I love boxing. I'm not really an MMA guy. I like boxing, and I'm old enough that Joe Frazier was my favorite boxer back in the 70s. Joe Frazier was known for his left hook. And when that crop report came out, and I've spent the last 2 days at the Farm Progress Show talking to farmers from all over North America, that crop report was a Joe Frazier left hook to the ribs. Just woof. We weren't expecting that report to be what it was. When it came and you got hit with that Frazier hook in the ribs, now you're an experienced fighter, you're on the ropes, and you're like, oh, I took that blow. Now how do I deal with it? You just need a little time to kind of deal with it. But in these areas where the crops are challenged, now it's just a little more negative outlook. So super long-winded way to answer your question, Alex, but geography is going to be more important the rest of 2017, which again, now let's flip it and let's talk actionable things you can do as a dealer based on this developing reality. So knowing where the auction prices are softer, where the yields are lower, and we'll track this day by day and report to you guys right in our dealer center. Just we want you to live there. All this actionable data is right there. So marketing perspective, can you market into areas with higher yields? Because now this is fascinating, but the same day the market report came out, August 12th or whatever, that sale from Iowa was brutal. We got another farm retirement auction in West Central Illinois. Better crops. I think it might have been near Galesburg. And yesterday I was leaving the Farm Progress Show, and guys were tailgating, drinking beer, and they said, "Hey, Pete, you want a beer?" I'm like, "Darn right, I want a beer." I came over and we just talked for a half hour. And I said, how are you guys? How are the crops? And they were like, "Keep this quiet, but we're looking good." Okay. So that same day, that auction in Galesburg, guess what? All the auction prices were premium, very high. So again, it's getting choppy based on geography. So market into these areas. And again, this is where with our machinery business, this is why, you know, we got 400,000 farmer emails. You can go down to the county level and say, I want a message to Knox County, Illinois about my 4 S670s that I'm tired of looking at or whatever. So, you know, that to me is the fun part about data, Alex, is I don't want to just talk about it. I want to make decisions based on it, good decisions. So, but here again, the age of equipment, and again, I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know and haven't known for years, but just look a little bit older, low hours, good condition. These next couple slides, they prove maybe the truest thing I see in the used market right now is it's all about condition. And so these were nice tractors. They had the benefit, they were a little older, kind of what everybody wants, cheaper than the new ones, whatever. But you can see 55K on the 4955, 77K on the 8200. And our eye on the ground, a jockey, told me that 8200 was a 7 out of 10. It was not a 9 or 10 out of 10. So to hit 77K, and it was, I think a jockey bought it. So he knew he could take it home and turn it and make some dough. But that's a pretty strong price. And that was June 21st, Central Iowa. Now this was before it got dry there. But I think the next slide, Alex. Let's see. Oh, I guess it's a different. Okay, this is yep, that's good. Now if we drift down to the smaller horse category, so 130 to 200, here you can see my index rating is higher. It's 8.1 versus 6.5 with the bigger horse stuff. And it's, you know, you just look at the last 2.5 years, we're just flat, but flat at a higher level. So smaller, you know, you guys know if you take in that 150 horse tractor from your good local customer, you probably already have some people interested in it, and you don't have the stack up on the lot that there is with the 300 horse or the 4-wheel drives or the combines. So you add it all up and we see higher auction pricing here.
How's that look since, you know, more recently?
Yeah, great question, Alex. If I had to put out my index today for third quarter, it would be 8.1 or 8.0. So okay. Not the slippage that we've seen on the bigger horse. What we've seen, the areas in the last month that have slipped, or since the crop report in particular, 4-wheel drive tractors and planters. Now planters, you could argue the seasonality of, you know, selling a late model 24-row planter in August, but it's been a little bit worse than that. So planters and combines are the two soft spots.
Okay, and it looks like you've got a record auction price here on one of these smaller horsepower tractors.
Well, yeah, and the reason I pulled this one forward, again, in our dealer center, where we want you to live and chew on the different retail, the auction, the search traffic data, is you look at this. So this was an auction, and now two things. Look below, it was an online auction, and location, Central Oklahoma. And we love our friends in Oklahoma and Texas. But again, historically, when you compare auction pricing from getting into the southern U.S. versus the northern part of the U.S., there's always, you know, tended to be a difference. So this hard cash sale price point, $45,650 with the loader for a 5-year-old T5070 with those low hours, that's pretty strong for an online. And then it came from an online auction in Oklahoma. And then compare it to the dealer list price. You just go into machinerypete.com and you can see a dealer in Kentucky was asking $45,500 for a 1-year older 11 model with basically the same hours and a loader. So here again, this is why my index rating at 8.1 is higher with the smaller horse tractors, because the discrepancy between the retail price and the hard cash auction price is tighter. And it's even tighter as you get smaller horse. You get under 100 down into the under 50. You know, again, it goes back to that who's your buyer and who's got money. And so anecdotally, we've seen this confirmed we travel the country filming with you guys for US Farm Report for our little On the Road with Machinery Pete segment. And so we spend 2 days with you and we just talk. And I think the last 6 dealers that we've been to all over the country, when we just are jabbering or having dinner or whatever, when the topic turns to the smaller horse tractors, I don't prompt it, but the dealers will just say, "Ooh, man, this has been good. We wish we had more." So again, you see strong retail activity, and on the auction front, which I cover, again, you see stuff like this.
And for these smaller horsepower tractors, we're seeing the same thing on the older models, still selling really well.
Yeah, here's the other slide I was looking for. This was the same day as that. This is a different auction, an hour away in central Iowa, that had the 4955 and the 8200 that both sold high. And again, a little smaller horse here, 4455, 4440. And again, these trends are across the color lines. You just saw a blue one, red, Agco. We see this with everything. But again, these are a little bit older, but nice. And again, you guys look at those numbers and you see 56.5 on that 4455 and you see 30. And you know how high those are. That's very strong prices.
And I have to imagine with the age on these are pretty nice machines.
Yeah, very nice. And here you're delving into the, how to say, well, the farmer mentality of wanting older and simpler. They're lower cost, but whether it's red, green, blue, they have their favorite models from years past. And even in this tough ag economy now, which stretched out 4 years, and this is what I find fascinating, is that even in this tougher environment, we're seeing premium dollars for the nicest condition used. And you see it here, and I report on these things. Now, if you dive deeper, what we're also seeing, to be truthful, is the average condition 4455 or Magnum 7120 or whatever. The average condition ones are softer at auction. They're softer, but we're seeing the premium dollars remain for the nicest. So it's really interesting to chew on in this current environment. So the last 2 days at the Farm Progress Show, I just listen, and we talked to so many farmers from all over the country, and it's fascinating to just let them run and talk about what they're thinking. And unprompted, again, what comes up a lot is their desire to acquire that nice 10-year-old, 15-year-old, tractor combine, or even on the comp. We'll probably hit combines here, but the sweet spot is that one model series older. So you're 9770 on the green side. And again, part of that's driven by its tough times, whatever. But again, it's actionable information if you know it as a dealer or, as an auctioneer, whatever. Know what people want and then play into that.
Sure, and then like you mentioned, the 100 and under horsepower tractors are even doing better than the higher.
Yep, you can see we were 8.1 on my 130 to 200 horse category, even higher here, under 100, so 8.4. To give the latest update for third quarter, it hasn't gone down. It probably flat. I wouldn't say necessarily it's gone up again, but to be flat in the third quarter is like kind of a double win. So, and to throw one little stat at you, our great team in Chicago, Elizabeth Vargas, a sharp young gal, works on the data side of social media for us, pulled this out and sent it to me yesterday. She said, "Hey, Greg," she showed me like the 3 most clicked on subcategories for your dealer listings on machinerypete.com from the last 2 months. Okay, number 2 was Kubota tractors under 40 horse. So you talk about where the clicks are, what people want, and that you can get into the whole Kubota discussion. We've been seeing really strong auction pricing on them. So again, a confirmation point with search traffic data to confirm what we see on the hard cash auction side. That's why I love that search traffic data in the dealer center and look at it every day. So really fascinating.
Here's a couple examples of some of the pricing you're seeing, and this is a 2015 John Deere.
Yeah, and again, the key thing here is the context. You asked how geography affects things, Alex, and again, look, it was May 10th. Like, two things: consignment auction. Again, that's usually softer, and Northeast Texas. And again, we love our friends throughout the country, but this was a very, very solid price, 42K hard cash for that 2-year-old 5085E with the loader in those hours for a consignment sale out of the South. So a sign of the strength in this category, I think, Alex.
Yeah, and then Greg, here's an example. You're talking about Kubota just a minute ago. Highest price in 4 years.
Yeah, again, the auction data is agnostic. It doesn't matter what you sell. Orange, blue, green, new, shiny, rusty, piece of crap, super nice. Doesn't matter. It's just, we get the price point and then you compare it. So this M9000, $1,500 with loader, 30K. Again, highest auction price in 4 years, speaks to category. Also, again, increasingly it speaks to what we're seeing with Kubotas when they show up for sale.
All right, let's move on to combines. Not quite the same picture as the tractors.
Yeah, I mean, again, nothing you guys don't know, but to me, the combine thing goes back to mid-2010. That's probably one of the biggest drops ever there, that second quarter 2010. And to me, that's sort of when the whole second buyer issue, it just was, becoming a challenge when you guys take it on trade or we see a 2-year-old one show up at auction. We were just adjusting. Sales we knew were good, times were good, and we've kind of been treading in the low 6 range on my 1 to 10 scale here for quite a while. You'll note the little bump up fourth quarter 16, first quarter 17, teeny bit drop second quarter. To update now through July and August, we have fallen a little bit with combines. Not as bad as 4-wheel drive, but I would probably give it maybe a 6.1 right now for third quarter. Again, a little bit choppy. Just the last 3 weeks since the crop report came out. I'm not saying it's doom across every combine sale we're seeing. There was a New Holland late model sold on a farm auction, I think earlier this week, that did a little better than I thought, so that was encouraging. But we have dropped a little bit.
And you're seeing, this is from back in April, but some solid prices on new combines.
Yeah, this was really an interesting test case. This was up in Canada. It was a farm auction, and it was really, really late model stuff. But, I mean, what an interesting proposition to sell 3 unused 2017 New Holland CR 9.90 combines. I mean, now they all sold with a head, but you can look at the numbers there. We converted them to US, which we do when we put our auction prices for you in machinerypete.com. We retail, certainly we'd hope to get more out of those, but hard cash selling 3 on the same sale to get 343 US, that was more than I thought. And that was consistent what I was seeing November through April on late model combines of any color. They were tending to be, again, if they were good condition, were tending to be a little higher. And again, the date here is important to note. That was April 18th, kind of back when we were in that little bit of stronger period.
Yeah, fast forward to June, and we've got 176 on a 2014 case.
Yep, we would like that number to be higher, but again, it is what it is. It was end of June. It wasn't, if we compare that to our other auction prices we've seen on 7230, it's not way out of line. It's just a little bit lower than we would have liked. But again, that was beginning when we started to see, if I would rank the categories that have been softest since June, it would probably be 4-wheel drive tractors, planters, and then maybe combines.
Okay, interesting. Same trend with the older combine as we saw with the tractors. They're pulling pretty strong prices.
Yeah, if you look at that picture, I took that with my iPhone. I was at this sale July 1st. It's close to me, just up the road. Guy had some cool old Alice Chalmers tractors, so I went out for that because it lights up YouTube video. But this 11-year-old R65, I'm always interested in the Gleaner combines or like the Kinsey planters. There's a little more variability. when they sell at auction over the years. But this one at 88K, again, we filmed it, put the YouTube out, and it was a really, solid price there, and the head sold separate. So what I heard farmers verbalize that day, again, which I like being on the ground for ground truth, because we can give you the number, hey, it sold for 88, but we want to give you all the specs. And in this situation, this is the value of conversing. I would relay the truth that day was that the farmers, and when you go to any auction, there's always like one or two pieces. You can walk up and down the lines of equipment and you can just tell. Farmers will tell you, what they're interested in. This one was exactly what I see, like when a nice John Deere 9670 or 9770 is on the sale. It's like people are leaning in, and that's what I want. And I'll have like 5 farmers come up to me before it sells. Hey, Pete, what do you think that's worth? And when you got more interest in it, guess what happens to the price? She goes up. So again, you can see very strong price there. And I don't know if you can see it, but the combine behind it was an N6. It was a very nice one, but that sold without a head for 12.5, highest price I've seen on an N6 in forever.
And then this is interesting to me, some comparison numbers between first and second quarter, and then 16 and 17.
Yeah, again, time of year, actionable, thinking about actionable marketing decisions based on time of year. So if we break down our auction data and we take, a common model, which, pinch point in the market right now, an S670, they made them for a few years, and we need to account for the 12 models, which were a little more challenged, obviously. But if you look at the data, 2012, second quarter versus first quarter, average auction price down 3.5%. And then that lower figure, that would be the second quarter. You can see it was down 13.1% with that average versus the second quarter of 16. So a little bit more of a drop. Again, that was pretty much driven all off of June. April and May were higher. And I think, if I remember right, that 16 number, that average auction price on the S670 didn't fall as much as maybe the market thought it would have. And that was kind of this holding, this flattening out period, stopping the big hemorrhage, basically. So it's fun to pull apart the data like this on an ongoing basis and look for trends.
Speaking of trends, let's look at some of the data you guys have pulled from your dealer center. Explain this to us.
Yeah, this is a snapshot from the dealer center, and it's tough in a snapshot. You really need to be in there to fully have all the tools to click around. And our programming team in Chicago, our chief programmer Tony is fantastic, and he's a good listener. And our big thing with you guys is we want to be all ears. And it's really how I built my brand all these years. I don't come at it and try to tell everyone the answer. We want to deliver what you need. So in this case, if we look, this is a snapshot of, you can pull up the combine category. Okay, now if you look at those first few lines under supply, we're telling you the total number of listings, 30, 60, 90 days. Eventually, as we grow this out, we go farther, we'll give you an option. You can click on 6 months, a year, whatever you want. It puts you at the wheel. But you can see the number of supply listings going up, which obviously, it's interesting to note that. And then on the demand side, on the right, this would be the, people clicking on your dealer listings for sale. So, look at the time period, when we did the slide, 90 days ago was, late April through late May. Look at the number of clicks versus, June 20th to July 19th, the number of clicks goes up. So again, it's taking your gut level knowledge of the market, and what's, I think, powerful about this dealer center is we want it really to permeate your organization. I mean, you can keep this for your ownership people or your sales manager, your use manager, but I think this gets really powerful when you share it down through, and particularly as you try and train your new salespeople, and you arm them with this. I mean, these truths. So average auction price, changes in retail pricing, demand, search traffic data, supply numbers. That it gets to be powerful stuff, which hopefully, as your salespeople are out talking to your customers, knowing these kind of trends, hopefully can help them holistically in talking to your customer. And again, growing up as the son of a dealer, and frankly through the '80s, I was always fascinated. It seemed to me the heart of the business was your relationship with your customer. And the phone can ring at 1 a.m. It rings when it rings. You got to do what you got to do for your farmer. That's the business. The trust they have in you. You guys are there for them. They bought stuff with you, their dad, their grandpa, and so giving you new tools to help you even in your conversations with your customers. Could it be even to better help them understand why you can't give them as much on trade as they think their thing is worth? Because because of this, you're looking at these things, these data truths. And I've been fascinated the last couple of years, Alex. I was traveling the country again, talking, listening to you guys. It's so smart how you've collectively pivoted in this more challenging time, and the hard but truthful conversations with your customers about being open about your situation as a dealer, how we're sitting with our inventory and where we're going with the business. And again, that plays into the fact that the farmer needs you guys. They need you to be strong, and you need the farmer to be strong. And that's the business, the dealer-farmer relationship. So we hope that these truths in our dealer center can help you from the management side, the ownership side, management, right on down through the sales side.
Okay, let's change gears here and talk about grain handling equipment. We're running a little bit short on time, so we'll
Sure.
go a little quicker through these.
Yep, these other categories, again, we report on them. Grain handling, so, your grain carts, gravity wagons, grain trailers, augers, a little bit stronger. They fell quite a ways there, 13, 14, 15 into 16, but kind of flattening out. And the flattening out in the middle of the year as they're looking towards harvest. What I've seen lately, except maybe the largest grain carts, we're seeing a few softer prices there. So that is the only really problem spot we're seeing. This kind of is a good indicator of the holding levels we're seeing, Alex. This auction in Iowa, I think had this Brent's 675 and it brought 12.2, and you can see the average auction the last 12 was 12.3. So pretty much right on the money, kind of holding.
And here's an example of a strong price you got even in June.
Yeah, June, again, this was June. The weakness we've seen on some of the big grain carts has just been in the last 2 to 3 weeks. But this one, June 17th, Northeast Illinois, I thought really good hard cash 72K on that 4-year-old Brent, Big Mama there, 1,300 bushel.
All right, and what about hay and forage? Your chart looks promising, that upward trend.
Yeah, little higher. Again, it started from a pretty low level, but it's been inching its way up. Round balers, we're watching the volume out there. But again, I think the heavy, the rains across much of the country earlier this season, and the heat, and then the rains geographically down south, that helps when Oklahoma and Texas, it's getting rain, and the baling, I think contributed to some of the higher auction prices we were seeing.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
Like this one that's almost retail. That's great.
Yep, again, 1-year-old Vermeer. And again, now if this same baler is sold in North Dakota now, as dry as it is, it wouldn't bring 40. But it did April 29th when it was raining. So again, that's what we saw then.
How about tillage?
Tillage, the thing to watch here is the size. The larger tillage has been the reason we've seen that drift down in use values, softer auction pricing. So you get that 50, 60-foot field cultivator, the biggest rippers and that kind of stuff. have been a little challenged on the late model side. I had been seeing some pretty strong auction prices, again, up until the crop report. And, you know, representative here, June 17th, for a 4-year-old, 2310, 66K. You can see highest auction price in a little over 2 years. One interesting thing that just came in was texted to me at the Farm Progress Show from a sale in Indiana. I think it was a Schrader auction, maybe Monday. Small sale, but they had an 18-foot John Deere 980 field cultivator, so it's small. And this would be a proof point of that truth across the whole market. Good condition, smaller stuff, high equals higher demand. That 18-foot, this is the problem as I get older, Tricia. I don't remember the exact number it sold for, but the comment was, "Wow, look at this! You know, I can't believe this number." And it was a high number. I compared it. I can't. I don't want to quote a number that's off here on the phone, but again, nice condition, smaller tillage has been holding up a little better.
Seems like the smaller stuff across categories has just been performing better.
Yeah, and actually, if I were a manufacturer at that level, I would pay attention to that, because it's interesting. One comment we get with the smaller equipment, whether it's a grinder mixer or a 6-row planter, and the ag has got bigger, fantastic, the efficiencies, the advancements, the productivity, all awesome, and we love the technology and everything that makes it more efficient. But the one truth, if you tagged along with me around the country, not all farmers are big farmers, and there is a opportunity for this, and this is why, frankly, we see that 18-foot field cultivator sell through the roof, or a 6-row planter that people tend to go, 6-row. Hey, all I do is compile the price and look at it, and you can see the demand. When a nice one shows up, the guys are knocking each other down to buy it. So it's interesting. And again, if I were a manufacturer, I would pay attention to that.
Yeah. Let's talk about planting and seeding.
Yeah, lower level, again, you guys know, it's just, one thing I found fascinating, Alex, here as we've traveled the country talking to dealers the last 12 months in particular, the number of dealers that have indicated there's no shortage of local customers that are interested in buying a new planter. The problem, of course, is that, taking their 2, 3, 4-year-old one in on trade and making the numbers work. It just doesn't work right now. So we have this situation, and you guys have been doing the hard work of the inventory of the 24, 36, 48-row late model planters, and that's been working its way down. Hard work, obviously, moving that stuff, no fun. But what I just point out here, again, a little uptick, even in November, December, and it was on the big late model planters. We saw higher prices. A little slippage second quarter, and unfortunately a little further slippage here the last month of August, some softer prices. But again, not too bad here. 216 on this farm auction, middle of June, for a 1-year-old 24-row. Again, if that same planter sold today, it would probably depend on how the crops are looking in that area.
Here's an example of that, the older, larger, not performing as well.
Yeah, the 08s, 9s, 10s, 11s, 24-rows, just kind of is what it is, and, it's no fun to look at, but, we've got 45, June 27th, Southwest Minnesota. We wish it was higher, but that's kind of what we see there.
Looks like a little positive news on the sprayers.
Yeah, sprayers this year going right since about the first of the year, Alex, has been the biggest surprise. Definitely stronger auction pricing, and confirmation here would be twofold. I believe our search traffic data, if we analyze 2017 versus 16, significant increase. So we're seeing, higher auction pricing, more people searching. And the third confirmation point, again, is listening to you guys as we've traveled the country, talking to you, filming the number of dealers that have indicated, sales of new have been, better. So it's, just a little breadcrumb trail point here. This 3-year-old Patriot 4430 Highest auction price I've ever seen, 229 and change, almost 230 back in April up in Manitoba.
Crazy. So just let's recap. Here's what we've got second quarter and your projections for third.
Yeah, and this is interesting because I haven't looked at this slide in a while, but in the quarterly index, the recap is no problem. I always say, well, here's what our auction price has shown. The look ahead, frankly, I had to add that for the Wall Street people because you guys know you probably get bombed with calls from analysts saying, hey, what's happening? But they always want to look ahead, which is we have to do. And so all this is just my best guess on all the ground truth sources we talked to in our data. So four-wheel drive tractors, we talked about down slightly second quarter. My guess back in July 1st was we'd be hold to down slightly. Updating you now, it would be down slightly to more. Sometimes we just say it's down. And it's teetering. It might be more where I would just say down right now. 200 horse, my guess was hold to down slightly. That has been down slightly. 130 to 200 hold would kind of be a hold is what we've seen. Under 100, same hold, definitely not down. Combines, third quarter down slightly is what I would say at this point. Sprayers, I would maybe say hold, just again because third quarter tends to be the softest time of year, so that hold actually is kind of a win. That's what I've seen, Alex.
Sounds good. I guess that's it, unless there's anything else you want to add, or if there's no, we haven't had any questions yet, but if anybody's got questions for Greg, go ahead and press that button and send them in now. Anything you want to leave us with today?
Well, again, just a big thank you to you guys, Alex, to EDA. Thanks for the work you're doing. And guys, if you haven't renewed with EDA, just do it. We need them doing what they're doing in Washington and fighting, representing great industry that is the farm equipment business. So again, thanks for what you're doing, Alex.
Thank you, Greg. We appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. Like I said earlier, we will get a copy of this recording and these slides out to you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and everybody have a great long weekend.
Thanks, guys.